Live.
Good morning, Leanne, and thank you very much for inviting me. Morning to your viewers.
Thank you. How would you say the weekend went, Minister? How was it from the Home Affairs perspective?
Well, I think because I was on the ground, I can actually confirm a lot of what the IEC has reported. Of course, I don't have the definitive statistics, but I did see a lot of young people approaching voting stations. I went into some of the voting stations to greet the IEC staff, and I found many, many young people registering to vote. And it was wonderful to see that all that's being said about young people being disinterested, not quite clued up to politics and democracy is actually proven to be untrue. Yeah. By the high turnout of young people.
Where were you? I know you say you were on the ground. Whereabout were you this weekend?
I was in the East Rand, in Vosloorus, in different residential areas there. Many of the areas are new residential suburbs, so a number of the people are actually not registered in the area, and we had to really encourage them to go out to the voting stations to register. I think we need to do a lot of voter education in South Africa, because sometimes people think because they're registered in their previous suburb, it's all right to stay with that registration. Yeah. And I was encouraging them to go out and register in their local area, because for the local government elections, you vote where you live, and thus it's important that you're registered there.
Yeah, obviously this is, I mean, we just speak about this particular weekend, but this is an ongoing process. From Home Affairs' perspective, going forward, will we see the same service we saw this weekend, extended hours so people can get their ID documents in time and register? Because I know that you can still register. It's not that just because the stations aren't opened, you can go to your offices and register.
Well, Leanne, we did receive quite a large number of applications, over 10,000, from persons who are not ID holders. And for smart cards, we had over 9,500 applicants. Half of those were young people. So clearly, we've got to speed up our processing of the ID documents to allow people to register before the proclamation of the election date that has been announced by the President. And we're going to ensure that we work hard, but we also would like to call on people to ensure that they collect their IDs when they're ready. We do send them SMSs, but there are a number of IDs in our offices that remain uncollected. Yeah. We distributed around 18,000 just in this voter registration weekend, but we remain with quite a number that are uncollected.
Okay, so that's a big call out. Please go and collect your ID documents. This weekend they were open between 8 and 5 on Saturday and Sunday. Will we see this again? Is there a possibility that on the weekends they may open again before that 7th of May election date?
Well, many of our offices do open on Saturdays, and we tend to open early before people go to work during the week. We do have staff that are in our flexible hour working program. They begin working from 7 a.m. So some of our offices are open really early, and several are open on Saturdays.
Okay. Now, just again, I think it's important to answer the question about the green ID documents as well as the smart cards. They are both allowed. This is for these elections.
They're both valid, yes.
Right, okay. So they're both valid and people mustn't worry about that. That's not an issue.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, not an issue at all.
I see that also that you had a lot of mobile units that were deployed into certain areas. Again, I ask you the same question. Is this something that'll be an ongoing process up to the elections?
Definitely. The mobile services were available. We had 72 trucks out. I did find out that in some of the rural areas we had a problem with wireless connectivity. It's something I'm trying to address all the time. We will be going out to a schools program from this week in all the provinces where we're reaching out to secondary schools to assist young people to apply, particularly those who will be registering for the National Senior Certificate. So these are ongoing outreach programs. that Home Affairs will be carrying out.
Yeah, we touched briefly on the youth and the lack of registration from the youth for these upcoming elections. Is this changing? Are we seeing perhaps over this last weekend? I know it's difficult now because it's only Monday, but is this changing in terms of the last registration drive?
Well, the sense I had, as I say, I saw young people approaching voting stations. At times, you'd get there, find a queue, and the entire queue was young people. So clearly they're interested, they're active, they're out there, they're registering. And I'm sure that the IEC will be able to confirm this in this week, but I definitely observed it. It was different from November, where November seemed to be persons checking up on their voter registration status, as well as senior citizens registering. This time I saw many, many young people. And I actually got very, very happy because I thought, there you are, they're interested.
Good. I mean, that's what you certainly want to see happening. But something we didn't want to see happening was some of the service delivery protests that were happening in certain areas where some voters were not even able to register because they're out of safety, and we can understand that those particular stations were closed. What do we do here now? What's the way forward?
Well, I hope the moment will come in South Africa when people realize that you can exercise your right, but without intimidating others. Really, we shouldn't be preventing anybody from exercising their right to register and to vote. And I believe that what will happen now is we must go into those communities as leaders in our country. I already hear that Premier Mokunyani has put together a team, and they will be going out to the areas where there have been these very violent protests and sitting down with the community and looking at what can be done.
All right. Minister, thank you very much for talking to us here on the program. And ahead of these elections, put your feet up. I know you told me they're a bit sore. You were canvassing and walking around the area. So hopefully a job well done. And thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Leanne.
All right, that's our Home Affairs Minister joining us from our Pretoria studios, Naledi Pandor. All right, the time is just a couple of seconds before the 8:30 we're talking about. So let's find out what's happening in our news headlines. Ayanda, it's over to you.